That's my offering. Take me to the king. I don't know the rest of the words. I'm fishing on a lake. It's got a lot of pressure on it. Maybe it's the fish are hard to catch because there's only a couple places to fish and everybody knows about them. So one of the ways that you combat heavily pressured lakes is casting distance, being a little stealthy. Your approach has got to be, we've only got so many different baits, so many different colors, and to a certain degree there's times where that just doesn't matter. So the way that we kind of combat heavily pressured water lakes like this is the way that we use the same baits that everybody else is using. And so when we talk about finesse, a lot of times people forget about casting, and making longer casts is a way of having a finesse approach. But the $9 million question is how you throw. Like, Bilad, I hear you. How do you throw farther? How do you make longer casts? I'm gonna try to show you just a few different ways that I try to cast farther. If you guys fish ponds, that's a situation where casting farther makes a huge difference in a pond, and even on lakes, especially fishing tournaments. Sometimes I fish tournaments where there's over 200 boats. So this is what I'm going to do. Some of these are going to seem super elementary, but it's easily forgotten when you're in the moment. All right. Tip number one: you're trying to cast farther. Every bait you can't do this, but a lot of times you can with like soft plastics or anything that you can add weight to it. Add weight. It'll let you bomb it out there a lot farther. Here's what you're thinking about. All right, so yeah, that's easy when you're doing it when you got a Texas rig in your hand. That's easy when you're throwing, let's say, a jig. But what do I do when I got a crankbait? Or what do I do if I'm trying to throw something that's weightless and I want to add weight? That doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? There's all kind of little tricky, sneaky ways that'll help you cast farther. When you want to add weight, I'm throwing a jerk bait right now. And jerk bait is one of those baits because of the shape. It's long, slender. The one I'm throwing right now is flat-sided. It'll catch the wind in a certain way sometimes and it just don't want to throw good. And then the next cast, it'll throw out there like a missile. So what I'll do a lot of times, they give me a little more weight, bigger hooks, heavier gauge hooks. Use a 2-time strong hook. Up your size on your hooks. You'll be surprised, especially on the back. Putting a little bit bigger hook makes the weight transfer to the back, and it keeps that jerkbait from helicoptering around in the water. So I'll put a little bit bigger hook on the back. That works on crankbaits, works on jerkbaits, works on top waters. Most of your top waters throw pretty good unless they're like a wooden top water. If distance is an issue on some of your hard baits, add a little bit bigger hooks, heavier split rings. Think like that. Think outside the box. Obviously, weight is almost always going to let you cast farther than a lighter bait. Simple, right? All right, the second tip for casting a little farther. It's going to get a little bit more technical in a little bit. I know y'all hate it. I ain't even going to look at you when I show it to you. What's that right there? Be secure enough in yourself and your fishing ability to pick up a spinning rod every once in a while. You ain't got to like it. This is a tool. Like saying that you don't like spinning reels or you refuse to use a spinning reel because it's a sissy stick and it's this and it's for girls and it's for people that can't fish and it's for I don't know, whatever else crazy thing y'all say. That's almost like a mechanic saying, man, I ain't never using an 1/8 inch wrench. I only use 3/4 and bigger. Bro, this is a tool. You got to have it. And so small crankbaits that are hard to throw, jerk baits. If it's real windy, I will not even attempt to put a hard jerk bait on a bait caster because a jerk bait can be a pain in the butt to throw. If it gets real windy, put him on my bait, on my spinning reel, and I go to work. I ain't got time to worry about who's thinking about what I got. I use what I need to get the job done. Put a spinning rod in your hand. If you're throwing something weightless, put a spinning rod in your hand. If you need to get it out there farther, braid is always going to throw farther, and braid handles really good on a spinning rod. So use a spinning rod to help you get a bait, whatever it is. Think outside the box. If you can't reach out and touch whatever it is, I guarantee you with a spinning rod, you're gonna be more efficient. You'll get it out there further with less muscle, and you'll get out there further a whole lot more efficiently with a spinning rod. So try that sometime. Just put it on a spinning rod. Keep you at least a couple. If spinning rod is not your deal, keep you 1 or 2 in the boat or in your truck or car or whatever you got, your kayak. Always keep a couple spinning rods because it's probably one of the most versatile tools you got. Throwing a little soft plastic jerk bait now. Something I fish a lot of times, throwing it over sunken brush piles and stuff. Can't throw really anything weightless. I highly discourage you from using anything bigger than 15-pound tests. And I prefer to use throw like 10 or 12 most of the time is what I'm going to use. Downsize your line, the line diameter. Now, downsizing your line doesn't always mean smaller pound tests. Downsize your line means downsize your diameter. So what that may mean is use braid instead of fluorocarbon or mono. That's just going to allow you to cast a little bit further. There's a trade-off there when you use braid. If it's nice and calm today, it's a perfect day to use braid today because it's nice and calm, no wind, catch my bait and take it away from me. But nice calm day like this, put your braid on whatever you got, bait caster or spinning rod. 20, 30-pound test braid, you'll be able to cast it a long way, reach out and touch them. Long way. That way the fish don't hear your boat and your trolling motor and your transducer pinging and all that. This stuff is really important. It's a difference maker, especially in like bigger tournaments, because everybody's fishing the same stuff. How you gonna make the difference? They're not gonna know that you're there like they're gonna know Billy Bob is sitting right on top of the brush pile at the point at the dock or whatever the case may be. You're making those longer casts, longer pitches when you're fishing grass. Longer pitches in a tournament pays off. Downsize that line, less friction. Lets the bait get out there a lot farther. That's important. It's probably like that little stuff right there is what separates the average fisherman or the average tournament guy from the better tournament guys. We all got the same stuff. But how far can you get it out there so you can keep the boat back and the fish don't hear you? That makes a big difference. So downsize your line, less restriction, less friction. Be able to cast a lot farther. All right, this is the El Clozo Finalete, okay? Seems really simple, but you forget it sometimes. Think outside the box with certain baits. I'm gonna reach in here and I'm gonna grab one of my longer rods here. This is a 7.5 Hex series. And I usually throw like a big walking style, spook style bait on. Longer rod is gonna let you cast farther. So upside your rod length. You put all 3 of these things that I'm talking together, 3 or 4, whatever I name, add more weight, more downsize your line, and a longer rod, and a longer spinning rod, dude, you'll cast to freaking Mars. I promise you. Longer rods give you more leverage, you got more whipping power, you got more fabric there that's kind of whipping and this long, like what happens is when you go back to cast, right? You rear back to cast, the weight of your bait goes back like a slingshot, loads that rod, and when you go back forward, that thing just like a slingshot. When you pull a slingshot back and you let it go, that's what you're doing. Your thumb is the let it go, and the rubber band is your rod, and it slings that bait out there. And the further you sling it back, the further you pull the rubber band back, the further that thing will go. The longer your rod, the more rubber band you got to pull back and launch that bait out there. So go with a longer rod. I'm going with a 7.5. This is so I can throw my big walking style topwater over some of these brush piles today. 7.5 rod, longer. I can bomb it way out there. Couple reasons. It's not all about, I talked a lot about a finesse approach, keeping my boat back. It's also so I can reach out and touch those schoolers that I might see today. Some fish might come up schooling, busting the surface. And if you've ever been bass fishing, you know for a fact that they always come up schooling about 30 foot further than you can cast, right? So you can't catch them. Eliminate that. Get your longer rod, 7.5, 7.6, 7.11 if you can, man. Get the biggest rod you can get. That's going to allow you to put that bait out there so you can cast. They don't hear your boat. They don't hear your trolling motor. They don't hear your sonar pinging. They don't hear you talking and singing. They might like the way I sing. I don't know about y'all. All these little tips right here will help you catch fish. I promise you will. It's the little things that matter. We all got the same baits, boats, electronics. We know about the same spots. How are you gonna pull up on the same spots?